So, you're a new project manager and it's day one of your new job opportunity. What should you look for in an organization? And by the way, what value should you bring to the organization? If you're new to the channel, I go by the name of ED. For all you smart and intelligent folks out there, we will just make it easy. It just simply means. And today's episode is entitled Strategies for Smooth Transition of a New Project Manager. Again, smooth, I said smooth, strategies for smooth transition of a new project manager. If you don't know, I have an 8-point framework. My goal is to unpack today's title, today's episode in those 8 points. I have a quote for you for today. One of my favorite people out there. He doesn't know it yet, but maybe one day if he's ever watching it. His name is Vusi. He has a quote which I remixed in, but we're going to give you the original version here first. Do you want the emotions or progress because you can't have both? Again, do you want the emotions or progress because you can't have both? This is going to make sense when we unpack today's episode. First point, stakeholder introduction. Listen, one of the actionable things is when you're joining an organization, you want to, when you're connecting, if, whether it's the PMO, whether it's your manager, it depends on what type of, how the organization is set up. You want to be able to make sure you can schedule formal introductions with key stakeholders. This is where you want to connect with your manager to ask that person to say, hey, could you set up formal introductions with the stakeholders that I may be working with on various projects. Why do you want to do this? The importance of reason why you want to do this is because it gives you an opportunity for them to meet you and to maybe ask questions and for you to build a rapport there. And plus, again, I always talk about getting to know your stakeholders, just not on a business, on a professional level, but as well as on a personal level. Because when you do that, now we're really building a relationship. We're not just here to show up for a paycheck, which I don't believe in. I believe a paycheck is very important, but it's also important to build relationships because you never know, that person may go into another organization and say, remember when I worked with that project manager? I want to bring them over to this organization. So it's important that you develop these relationships, and starting with a stakeholder introduction really builds a relationship with stakeholders because it does two things. It establishes trust as well as it opens up communication channels, which you're going to need for critical project success. Hey, family, I really want to thank everyone for watching today's episode. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and sign up for our new, I do mean our new Magnetic Project Manager School that we are building out. It should be ready by March 2nd or earlier, but I'll keep you guys posted. I think I might be doing behind the scenes of how I'm building this out. And the whole point is I want to build a community of like-minded individuals, project managers that are not even project managers yet, all the way up to multi-year experience as project managers. The goal is to bring more project managers, or I should say people, into this thing that I love, that I hope you fall in love with, called project management. Let's move on to point number two. Point number two, comprehensive onboarding. Again, comprehensive onboarding. I want to park here parenthetically, if you don't mind. See, family, these things that I'm discussing, or these strategies, I should say, that I'm discussing, I want to let you know that when you walk into an organization, not every organization is going to have it. Not every organization is going to, you shouldn't expect this, but what you should expect is that if they don't, you look at today's episode and say, you know what, I want to bring these to the organization. A lot of times we have certain expectations when we're walking into a particular organization, and when those expectations are not met as an employee, instead of looking at it as an opportunity, we as my grandma would say, we frown our nose up. No, my dad said that, excuse me, my dad said we will frown our nose up, instead of looking at the opportunity to change, to make a change and to have an impact and do what? Have influence. So family, I challenge you, and I give you these strategies. If none of these strategies are in the organization that you're seeing, that you've just got hired on, or you're in, then what you want to do is start finding a way to implement these particular strategies. You know the message here. We're always trying to experiment with things. All right, let's go on. So here's an actionable step. Develop a structured onboarding process with a clear timeline and checklist. This is something you want to engage your manager on and say, hey, Can we put together a checklist of things that you want me to really focus on? Here's some example. It may be a session around company culture. It may be a session around just the project manager tools. There may be a session around the methodologies. There may be a session around frameworks. It's important to have this as someone that is coming on board a new organization, because it really allows you as the project manager to get a understanding, or watch this family, the foundation of how projects are led there. Because every organization I've been in, projects are led in different ways, which some people will say, well, that's not good. Yes, it is good, because you want to be always be adaptable. You always want to have that growth mindset, meaning, well, yeah, that worked before, but we're somewhere else. We need to be able to have that ability to make that change. That's why I love this profession so much. Point number 3, clear communications. What you want to do is understand it. How do we establish regular protocols for regular updates, check-ins? What is the escalation process? Ooh, I got to stop here because this is where I get really feisty. See, the escalation process is always different in different organizations. You would have, well, hey, you would have, I've been in situations where it would be like, well, come to the manager first, and then the manager will go to the next layer in leadership. I've had it where it's like, no, escalated out to everyone in that group or that department of managers. That way, you're putting everyone notice to let them know what your next step is. Again, I've seen it so many, but this is why it's important when you are doing this comprehensive onboarding. This is part of that aspect of understanding, what does this look like, so you have an understanding of, hey, if I need to escalate, what are you looking for in the escalation? Are you looking for the reason why we escalating? Are you looking for what is affected out of the triple constraints? Is it the budget? Is it the schedule? Is it the scope? Is it the quality? What are you actually looking for? And then being able to have a open communication, open dialogue about the misunderstandings, and how do we get everyone back aligned to meet the project goals. Point number 4, supportive leadership. I can't speak. This is, if you do not, message, if you do not have a supportive leadership, I don't care what you do as a project manager, is going to fail. Why? You say, oh, that's really harsh, ED. Yes, I have to be harsh, because if you do not have a supportive leadership, then when you have to escalate, or you have to push back on things that they believe a project, you see, I'm doing the quotes, the project manager should be doing or should be leading, and you go to your leadership and they're not supportive of what you're doing, because see, you've already would have had this addressed when you sat down to have that conversation, but you have to get their support right away. That's why I said, one of the books, another book that I'm writing and working on, is a PMO book, because if you don't, that's the very first thing I start off talking about, is saying, if you do not have supportive leadership for your PMO, you might as well dismantle it, because your leadership is going to push everyone to a protocol. Leadership is going to push them to a process. See, a lot of people don't like to do processes, and I'm all for processes, but I'm also for disrupting processes when it makes sense. And so, how do you know when to disrupt or to follow that actual process if it aligns what you're doing? So again, supportive leadership is going to be key. And how do you garner that? You garner that by making sure that they are approachable, that they have an open door policy, that they set something in place to allow you, watch this, I talked about in my video yesterday, of having office hours. I think that's key. If I'm a leader, this is one of the things I want to do. I want to show that I'm accessible. I want to show that I'm here to support you, because without you driving the business, I can't do my job as a leader appropriately. So having office hours is going to be key. Let's move on to point number 5. Gradually, gradually responsibilities increase. As a leader, we want to ensure when new project managers are coming in, you want to start them with smaller projects. I've seen it, and this is probably going to irritate a lot of people, what I'm about to say here. And there's probably going to be some people in the comments that say, hey man, I wish somebody would speak up and say, I got your back on this one. I do not, and I repeat, I'm not going to use the word hate. I'm going to use the word dislike. I dislike when someone says, we want somebody to come in hitting the ground running. What does that look like? First of all, that's the first question you need to ask. What does that look like when someone comes in hitting the ground running? Because I don't care how much experience you have as a project manager, whether zero experience up to a decade or more experience, you still need to learn the culture of the organization. You still need to learn the stakeholders you're going to be working with, and basically, because if you don't, you come in there with the same mindset that you left another organization within this organization, you may turn some people off and you may not get a second opportunity to make a first impression. I know that's a quote somewhere. So what I'm saying is, family, when a new project manager come on, you're the leader, you want to start them off small. Help them get it, help them get some wins under their belt. See, a lot of times we want to put them and throw them in the most difficult project, and then we're frustrated, we're flabbergasted of why did they fail. Well, they failed because we didn't set them up for success as leaders. So it's important. No, 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 no. It's imperative that we ensure that we set up our new incoming project managers for success. Let's move on to point number 6. Point number 6, message. This is key right here. Tailored training. What does tailored training look like? Hey, listen, if you came in with a PMP, a CAPM, I shouldn't be going over the basis of a PMBOK guide with you. If you didn't, now we need to start there. We need to understand where the candidate is, or I should say the new project manager is, and build from there. There's so many times we're putting project managers through training that is taken away from the opportunity, or no, 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 watch this. I like this even better. We put them in training that is not valuable to the organization or the project manager. It's not valuable because they've already experienced that particular training. So we have to build a rapport and say, here's our body of training. Where do you fit into that? First, we open it up to them to say, what would you like to know more about and learn more about? That's how we build that tailored training. We customize it to each project manager. I know a lot of people are not going to like that. They just probably want to start them through the beginning course and then the next. No, it's not valuable. We're trying to build. No, no, no. We will build valuable project managers, and doing that is customizing the training that meets their particular need. Let's move on to point number 7. Man, I want to say message here because this is key. Yep, I got to do it. Message, knowledge transfer. What does knowledge transfer mean? I read somewhere where they talked about the importance of being able to take tribal knowledge, which I prefer now is knowledge transfer, and pass it along. A lot of people hold on to that information, or I should say hoard that information, because of the fact that they are concerned that they may be put out of a job, that someone may come in and take over. I get it. I hear everything that you're saying. What I'm saying is that, but there's some resources that come in that you need to work with to help out, because that may give you time to focus on other things so you can keep your job. And what I'm saying by that is that having meetings that really with outgoing project managers, that these are project managers that are moving on to another organization, or maybe even moving on to another role, and create a knowledge repository that they can access. We normally call them OPAs. What is that? Organizational process assets. That should be in place anyway, but a lot of organizations may not have that. So because of that, you need to connect with that project manager that's on the way out. And plus, they'll probably give you some insight verbally that you won't get off of a document. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, sometimes they don't feel comfortable documenting that, like, oh yeah, that stakeholder, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have some challenges with that stakeholder. This is what I was able to do with that particular stakeholder to get them on board. So they're gonna be able to give you some ins and outs that you wouldn't be able to read in a document, because it may say, oh, they may just list the stakeholders and you don't know what you're walking into. Point number 8, empowerment and autonomy. Family, this is going to be key. If you're in an organization that does not believe in building empowerment, building autonomy, but let me park there first. You need to earn. What did I say there? You need to earn that right away. I mean, this is going to take time. So don't walk in there thinking like, oh, well, I should be empowered and have autonomy right away. No, if anyone does that to you, they're crazy. I mean, and I mean that literally, because of the fact of you have to earn that by getting some wins under your belt, developing some trust with your stakeholders, develop some trust with your leaders and everything. And then they open up the door for empowerment and autonomy. I see a lot of times where I've seen new project managers come in and feel like, well, I should be able to do this and do that. And yes, you should. But you need to earn that trust and show that you can deliver on what they said that they needed from you. And then you can start bringing in different artifacts, project artifact documents, or different approaches and techniques. I have a bonus for you. This is a key bonus if you really want to survive in this thing that I love, that I hope you fall in love with, called project management. And the bonus is networking opportunities. Having the ability to facilitate connections with peers within your organization, even connecting with leaders. Say, hey, I'm new to the organization, would love to set up a one on one, and tell me some of the things that you liked of what previous project managers done, and tell me some things you don't like and what would you like to see done better when projects are being led. This is key, family, because when you're able to set this tone, they know that you're coming in here not just to make a change, but you're there to make a difference. Until next time, it's been your boy AD. You know my slogan. I'm out.